Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna show you Martin Van Buren's family tree. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and we'll be starting. So let's start with Martin Van Buren himself. Actually, let's start with his ancestors and siblings. His parents were Maria Hose and Abraham Van Buren. And when you hear Abraham, you probably think of Abraham Lincoln, but they're not related. Um, Van Buren's maternal grandparents were Janette Lawrence van Schack. I don't know how to pronounce Dutch words. And his grandfather was Johannes Dirksen Hose. His paternal grandparents were Dirkie van Alstein. I don't know how to pronounce that in Dutch words. And his grandfather was Martin Peters Van Buren. His mother, Maria Hose, she was married. She was married earlier, and she had 3 kids from the previous marriage. Mariti, I don't know how to pronounce that. Mariti Van Allen, Johannes Van Allen, and Jacobus Van Allen. Johannes is Dutch for John, and Jacobus is Dutch for James. Not Jacob too, but also James. And Van Buren also had these were his half siblings, but he also had siblings. He had 2 older sisters, Dirkie and Hannah. 2 younger brothers, Lawrence and Abraham. Because there was he had a middle name starting with the letter A, but I'm not sure what middle name it was, because Abraham. What other name can be an A, like Angus? But that's like kind of a Scottish name, or maybe Adam, maybe Alfred, maybe something like that. Albert, maybe Albert or Adalbert, something like that. Anyways, Martin Van Buren married his first cousin once removed, Hannah Hose, and they had the same. Wait, no. They had the same ancestor from. So basically, they had the same grandfather or great-grandfather, something like that. Maybe that was his grandfather and her great-grandfather, or maybe vice versa. Maybe her grandfather was his great-grandfather, but they're the same age. So anyway, they had 5 sons: Abraham, John, and his middle name was M, and I guess Middleton, or maybe John Martin or John Middleton. I think if I had to guess, probably Middleton. And by the way, John Middleton is the legendary giant from England, and he was over 9 feet tall. He was even taller than Robert Wadlow, but there's no evidence he ever existed. So anyway, they also had Martin Van Buren Jr. He lived to be 40. He didn't die at birth. He just lived to be 40, but was never married, never had children. Winfield Scott Van Buren, named after General Winfield Scott, but actually he was born. Van Buren didn't meet Winfield Scott. Or maybe they did, but they're not friends. Maybe that he just named him because he liked the name, or he just named him after him because he was like a war hero or something. Anyway, their youngest son, was Smith Thompson Van Buren, named after Smith Thompson. And now about their families. Abraham, the oldest son. Also Van Buren and his wife also had. They also had an unnamed daughter that died at birth, but I didn't put her to the family tree. So Abraham married a woman named Sarah Angelica Singleton. She went by the name Angelica. She never used Sarah, and I also prefer Angelica. and they had 4 children: a daughter named Rebecca and 3 sons named Singleton, Martin, and Travis. John married a woman named Elizabeth Van Der Poel, and they had a daughter named Anna. Martin Jr. was never married. Winfield died when he was very young. And Smith was married twice. First, he married Henrietta Eckford Irving, and they had 3 children: Martin, Eliza, and Marion. And then, when she died, Smith remarried a woman named Ellen King James, and they also had 3 children: Ellen, Edward, and Catherine. And that's about it. Also, I want to say that it's not in the topic, but I just want to say that the two President Roosevelts, Teddy Roosevelt and FDR, are very farly related because they're fifth cousins, so that's not as close as you might think. But they're even closer related through marriage because FDR married his fifth cousin once removed, Eleanor, and she was Teddy Roosevelt's niece. So they're closely related by their marriage than by blood. And Teddy Roosevelt is more closely related to Martin Van Buren than to FDR, because Teddy Roosevelt's great-grandmother was Martin Van Buren's third cousin. And so yeah, that's it. And tell me in the comments which first name was your favorite. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll see. Let's see. First, let's start with the girls. Janetti or Durkee. Janetti. Maria. Maria is so far my favorite. Maria or Mariti. Maria. Maria or Hannah. Maria. I prefer Maria. Now, Maria or Sarah. Maria or Sarah. I think I prefer Sarah. Sarah or Elizabeth. Elizabeth. Elizabeth or Ellen. Elizabeth. Elizabeth or Henrietta. Elizabeth by far. Now, Elizabeth or Rebecca. I think I prefer Elizabeth. Elizabeth or Anna. Elizabeth. Elizabeth or Catherine. Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth or Eliza. Elizabeth and Eliza is the same name, but sometimes somebody names their child Eliza and not Elizabeth. So it's not always short for Elizabeth, but sometimes it is. Elizabeth or Marion. I like the name Marion, but I think I'm going with Elizabeth. Now for boys, Johannes or Martin. I think Martin. Martin or Abraham. Martin. Martin or Martin. Martin. Martin or Jacobus. Martin. Martin or Lawrence. I don't really like the name Lawrence, so Martin. Martin or John. Martin or... I think I prefer the name Martin. No, Martin or Winfield. I kind of prefer Winfield. Winfield or Smith. Winfield or Smith. Winfield. Winfield or Singleton. Ooh, Winfield or Singleton. Kind of prefer Singleton. Singleton or Travis. Singleton. Singleton or Edward. Singleton or Edward. Kind of prefer Edward. And so my favorite girl's name is Elizabeth. My favorite boy's name is Edward. So Edward and Elizabeth. So anyways, thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe. And yesterday I made a live stream for because I hit 100 subscribers, and you can be on my stream when I hit 200 subscribers, but I don't know when that will be. So subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.